and gentlemen, for those of you who do not know who the crap I even am, my name is Emily Sophia and I am a fanatic of television, of music. I've done reviews, I do songs, all kinds of jazz, but this being my very first video of 2014, I thought that I would kind of expand out from my usual territory of vlogs and things of that nature and take a look at a very particularly awesome game by the name of The Fungus Among Us, or in other words, The Last of Us. So this is my very first gaming review that I've ever done, but I have a little bit of experience with tackling shows like Dexter, Breaking Bad, Bates Motel, Hannibal, you name it, I'm on it. Oh, and of course The Walking Dead, being that this is kind of relevant to the discussion. So, just so you guys know, a few items of business. If you want to completely skip, swerve all around that jazz, I can't blame you. There's a little annotation here that'll take you to the part of the video where I actually talk about the game itself. But I just wanted to let you guys know that there's no game footage here. But I'm not opposed to going in that direction in the future. I'm looking into potentially doing some kind of playthrough stuff or composites of, you know, best of moments of playing through a game. So if you guys would be interested in that, you know, let me know in the comments. And furthermore, I usually don't take a scripted or notes approach to talking about this type of stuff, so it gets a little bit rambly and sort of emotional reaction based at times. Some of you dig that. But if you don't, you know, I tell you this so you can go ahead and take off now and don't piss on the doorstep, you know? Because everybody's got a different style as far as how they want to discuss games, things of that nature. So, you know, I want to make everybody happy that I can. So, this game has been out for, it's been out for a few months now, and it's on the PS3, you know, it's not a next-gen console game. But I think it's fantastic enough to warrant some serious discussion. So this review is going to be divided into the first half. I'll just kind of be talking about things in a non-spoilery context, just my general impression of the game, the flow, characters, from a non-spoiler angle. And then after that I'll kind of get more into the plot and moments that I most enjoyed, you know, the things that rent my soul open, stuff like that. So hopefully you guys will be down for the ride, and I can't wait to take you on it. So let's dive into this business together. Now, the zombie apocalypse genre is one that has indeed been done to death. And like the very zombies or infected humans, which, you know, the genre portrays, these type of games and shows and movies and works of fiction, what have you, are brought back to life and lumber around and kind of do their thing. But it's gotten to the point that this stuff is so popular, it's almost formulaic. We kind of know what to expect from these types of games, the jump scares, and you know, there's a lot of elements that we just sort of come to expect, and it becomes a little bit trite, a little bit stale. So in order to make a game at this point in, you know, in digital storytelling, you have to do something that is fundamentally different. You have to innovate to make a truly incredible game in a genre that's been around and has gotten quite a bit of love. Maybe even too much, some might say. But what The Last of Us does is it takes a very intimate story approach and it makes you connect with everything that's happening in, you know, to reassess this entire Armageddon-ridden world. You completely see it with new eyes through the characters of Joel and through Ellie. And you're invited to sort of fall in love anew with this world that's kind of been, as I said, done to death. It brings it back to life, breathes it a new one. It's truly a fantastic thing that that Naughty Dog has done with The Last of Us, and I applaud them. I kiss their feet. I will make you freaking cupcakes for the rest of your life for giving me this game. I'm just saying. So I believe that The Last of Us is incredibly innovative just in terms of how they portray this world and how we get to engage with the characters. And it's not just Joel. You know, we're invited to be a part of the Joel and Ellie relationship, which is what makes the game so incredible and immersive, is we get to go back and forth between these two uniquely broken human beings. We get to see how they need each other and the mutualism and the different strengths that they have, and to see, and it's just such a dynamic game in terms of how it moves from setting to setting and environment to environment, and even, you know, from companions to companions. There are different people that you encounter throughout the game. I'm not gonna say who comes and goes, but there are different people that you find in different places. You see different relationships around the Joel and Ellie relationship that you are kind of seated in. You get to see how everybody else is kind of tackling, you know, being 20-some years into this insanity. You get to see how it all plays out and what makes Joel and Ellie so special. Everybody's got their dues to pay, everybody's got their burdens that they're dragging around, but there's something that makes Joel's and Ellie's just so unfathomably rich to us as the players. What I really loved about the game was just the fact that you get to be in so many different places. You're in the desolate cityscape, you get to see all the fallen quarantine zones and how shit's gone crazy under martial law. Something I would never want to be a part of. You know, if I saw that coming into fruition, I would be digging myself a little hobbit hole in the countryside and calling it good. I'm just saying, that's where I'd be hosting up. Or I'd just be a pirate and freaking voyage the 7 seas for all eternity, because I don't know that you'd have as many unsavory run-ins out on the open water. I mean, it's pretty much like you got clickers, you got scurvy. Pick your poison. How's it gonna go down? But yeah, so you get to be in the city, you get to be in the woods, in the country, in the sewers, and it's just the visuals are breathtaking. I mean, when I was playing with my siblings, and my brother, who's a game designer himself, was just absolutely enamored, rolling on the floor at how fantastic the graphics were, just being Joel's daughter Sarah in the very opening scene of the game where she's in her bedroom, and he was just like spinning the character around, just spinning the camera to take everything in, because it is just so, it is art. This game is absolutely art, and you know, the achievements and the art that you can unlock throughout the game, and you can look at it afterwards. You feel like you've been a part of this culturally enriching experience just from playing the games. I mean, that is saying something. It really pleases the aesthetic palette, if you will. That was a lot of really big words. I'm sorry about that. But yes, I mean, it's brilliant to look at, to just be in, to see, to even just look at your own character. And yeah, so that's just fantastic. The game, it moves from people to place, people to place. Now, for those of you who have seen AMC's The Walking Dead television series, we know what it's like when characters get trapped in this one place. Like, all I'm gonna say is the 2nd season. Everybody's hanging out on the funny farm, and it ain't so funny after a while. It just kind of got a little too static. You know, everybody was kind of caught in the same place, but you are ever moving on your mission to get Ellie to the Fireflies, and kind of zigzagging around as you're trying to find like who can help you get to where you need to be, and the escapes and escapades. And yeah, so it's a dynamic game. It moves you around, it moves your heart and soul, it pretty much gets you on every possible level. So if you don't want your insides messed with, this is not the game for you, because you're gonna be messed with, is all I have to say. So, and it is incredibly story driven. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It sucks you right in. You sympathize so ridiculously on so many levels with your characters, and you scream at the TV, and I mean, people love to watch me just like watching games, because I am like peeling my own skin off from the stress. It's what I do. It becomes so real to me, and this is the type of game that will blur those lines for you because you are just in this game at any given time. Like, so I think I'm gonna have to start dipping into spoilery territory in order to say everything that I want to say, but if you haven't played this game, I do suggest that you do something about that. You come on back here and we will talk about it together. Sing Kumbaya, we're gonna survive this madness, okay? So, okay, spoiler time. Let's get into the thick of it. So Joel and Ellie, and the way that the game resolves their relationship, so to speak, what I love about the ending of the game is that there is resolve, but yet there isn't. They leave enough room to where they could plausibly bring about a sequel. And that was surprising to me because I was going through the entire game under the belief that somebody was gonna die. I could feel it in my bones at any given second. And what's awesome about the game is that whenever you think that you are in the end game, like this is it, like when Joel gets freaking impaled, you know, when they're trying to make their way through the old Firefly base and the guy, you know, surprise motherfucker him, throws him off the edge, you know, all that jazz. You just think like, okay, it's game over. This could be it. You know, you play the rest of the game as Ellie and it's done, and that's just love and loss and the apocalypse. I'm so paranoid from reading these comics and watching these shows and movies to where it's just like, once you love someone or once somebody loves someone in the game, they're gonna die. One of them is. So that's why we were saying, you know, Joel could never fully let himself be grateful to Ellie for her being a freaking badass because he knows that as soon as he confesses love or gratitude for her, she's gonna die. Or he's gonna die. Or somebody. So everyone has to be emotionally ambivalent or else lives are on the line. That's just kind of the way this stuff works. But what's fascinating about the way that they end the game is the fact that everybody lives. But you know, what is that quality of life, and what is it about exactly? Because we see that Ellie is tripping hard on survivor's guilt, and I think that she knows the entire time that Joel is just feeding her enough lies to keep her with him because he can't lose her. It comes to the point where he genuinely needs her more than she needs him. Because for Ellie, she's ready to sacrifice herself for this. Her and her friend, after the initial bite that kind of turned her into this crazy heroine of sorts, she was just kind of waiting to go crazy, waiting for it all to go down. And what better way to go than potentially saving all of mankind? But for Joel, you know, being with Ellie all this time brings him out of a cocoon that he failed to see he was totally stuck inside of. And so I was kind of thinking to myself towards the end as he is just offing guys left and right, like, yeah, nope, I'm gonna get my girl. You know, he seems kind of psychopathic at times. You know, he really does seem kind of like the madman that David describes him as, you know, when he sort of reveals exactly who he is to Ellie. And it seems incredibly selfish, all the people he takes out along the way to essentially prevent the Fireflies from their one goal, to prevent mankind from being able to come out of this because of the life that it costs this one incredible girl. And I mean, in the case of Ellie, having her alive is definitely an asset. I mean, like, think of the people that she and Joel have jointly decimated, and I just gotta say, it's pretty impressive. She has skills beyond her years, beyond all things. She is a true marvel. So I mean, you know, maybe it is that her brain is worth more alive and functioning than ripped apart because science. But at the same time, so we see there's this selfishness on Joel's part, and yet at the same time, if you were in his shoes, what would you do when you finally find a reason to keep going? That is embodied in this girl and her life and her spirit and what, you know, what their bond has given them. I do think that Ellie saw through his lie at the end, but at the same time was more or less accepting of the fact that he needs her in the way that he needs her. And that's gonna have to be what helps keep her, you know, keep her going. Since she didn't get to be used for the purpose that all this time she was being geared up for it. It was a very, very bittersweet way to bring things to a close, and I liked it. I mean, I was paranoid to the last freaking second, okay, because I was sitting there like, as Joel is kind of telling her that, oh, it was all a loss, so, you know, it's you and me now, let's hang, you know, and she's just looking at him, and just the look in her eyes, I was like, she's gonna freaking shoot him. She's gonna freaking shoot him. It's this false sense of security that we're being lulled into. One of them's gonna die in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, I was just ready. Well, not ready in the sense that, like, bring it on, but I had been bracing myself for some horrific emotional tragedy, but it just kind of, they just sort of let us off, like, ah. And there's so many ways that things could go if they wanted to take the story further, which, I mean, sign me up. I'll buy the ticket to the train any day. I would definitely be down for a sequel for this story. But, yeah, so I kind of like the way that they ended it. In a sense, you kind of feel like, I mean, again, it's just the fact that there's so many ways that things could go, and that we see the bond between Joel and Ellie that has been so powerful. We see that honored and brought to a certain place of resolve. But at the same time, there's a lot of ways in which things could change, especially as they encounter others. Like, is anybody gonna come after her? What's gonna transpire? There's a lot that they could bring from this, and I say, hey, that's what they want to do, then count me freaking in. I'm getting on that vessel, okay? But yeah, so I'll walk you through some of my favorite moments and things about the game. There's a lot that I enjoyed, you know. Again, like I touched on earlier in the review, you get to see a lot of people. I liked Tess. I liked Tess when she was around, because even though we didn't get to have a lot of her relationship with Joel was not overdone or dramatized or romanticized. They just had this connection. There were things that were implied at the very end as Tess sacrifices herself, but you know, she kind of provides the impetus for Joel doing what he does with Ellie and for Ellie, because without her, Joel would have just been like, screw this, I'm out. He lost his daughter back in the day, and he was so closed off that he wasn't even going to contemplate putting himself in a position where he could possibly be hurt like that again. You know, and I'm kind of making this a little bit sentimental, but you know, you can kind of see how the traumas create these layers inside, things that would have likely barred him off from even being willing to go down this road at all. So I like Tess for sort of the catalyst that she was in Joel and Ellie's relationship, and you know, the fact that I just liked her. She was an okay gal. It was hilarious because there was a certain point in the game when you have both Ellie and Tess and like running around, and I was just dying at, you know, the AI in this game is pretty top notch, but I love how Tess could freaking just dive into the clickers and they couldn't even touch her. You're just like, woman, come back to me, but she's totally fine. She's untouched. Oh, it was just marvelous. Just a marvelous experience. Just to be surrounded by the untouchables. But yeah, and then, you know, you also run into Bill. Bill was certainly not my fave. I was not a huge fan. He was just stomping around in his big fat old man boots and just giving me a heart attack every 5 seconds because he just couldn't keep his anything silent. It was just really scary being in his corner of the world and even being with him. It was very volatile at the time, so did not have much of a problem bidding him sweet adieu. You know, parting is such sweet sorrow, but when it comes to Bill's, I was okay with it. And then of course you have Henry and Sam, and they're sort of an interesting kind of mirror of Joel and Ellie's situation. And there's sort of a sense of, well, foreshadowing, and that after, I think, is Sam the little bro? I'm pretty sure he is. I'm sorry if I switched it, but my siblings and I were calling him Carl at the point where you get separated from Ellie and the other guy, you know, like the gate comes down and then you're freaking wandering in a wonderland of stalkers because it's just, oh, it just ruined everything sometimes. But yeah, so that story was really interesting and, you know, tragic in its way with how after Sam gets bitten, Henry takes his life because that's his reason for going on. And I think that Joel kind of comes to realize that. Be the same way for him, you know, when he gets the news from Marlene, when he's with the Fireflies, that this is it for Ellie. I think he knows that he would have no other reason to go on, and that he'd either be a shell of his former self or feeding a shell into his head, pretty much. So I think that was a really great narrative device, and it also kind of, you know, the levels that you go through with Henry and Sam are kind of indicative of the fact that Joel and Ellie's bond is truly unique, and they're loyal to each other because there are times where they get abandoned by the others, and Joel ain't quite a fan of that business. So, you know, so we got to kind of, you know, further invest in the relationship that we're in. And then you get to see Tommy and his whole crew. We see this sort of attempt at reestablishing thing, and that's sort of a critical point for Joel and Ellie's relationship. It's where Joel has to choose what exactly he's doing all of this for. And once he has the opportunity to hand Ellie over to Tommy and, you know, just kind of pass on the baton like playing freaking hot potato, he realizes, like, hey, this is my homegirl, we're gonna stick it out. We're gonna make this work. And when she gets up on the horse with him, there was just a moment where the heart is like, ah! It's a little Hallelujah chorus moment for me, but I was very, very happy about that. And I love how later in the game you get to play as Ellie, and we really get to see just the equality of Ellie and Joel as characters and their strengths and in their different capabilities. I mean, I was a pretty big fan of as far as weaponry and things go. The flamethrower that Joel had was quite a delight. Threw a few barbecues over the course of the game, and of course got to throw some cocktail parties, as I like to call them. My siblings and I came up with a lot of like death euphemisms throughout playing the game, so that was good fun. That's pretty much what playing this game with me is like. But yeah, and what I also loved about the game is that not only are you moving through these different levels, you know, sweeping from one grand and horrifically beautiful area to another, but you also got to be introduced to the different types of infected throughout the game. So, you know, you get to start off, you got the runners, and then you move into the territory of the clickers, and there's always a little bit of foreshadowing. There's always a point where there's the tension between you knowing the name of this mysterious type of infected individual you're gonna encounter to seeing just how you have to handle things. So you're constantly adapting your strategies, what you use, how you move around. It keeps you on your toes. The entire game does. It just flows. So you go from, it's runners to clickers to, is it from stalkers to bloaters or bloaters to stalkers? I mean, they kind of come in, yeah, sort of like in the latter half of the game, but yeah, that business was a little bit crazy. And then getting to read the notes that you pick up along the way, and there's just such a universe that is constructed, and that's something that I really love and cherish about the game, is it's just so everything, you know? And I love the scene where Joel and Ellie come out on the huge freaking like clan of giraffes, or whatever the name is for a group of giraffes, what have you. There's just so many of those wow moments throughout the game. And after Joel told Ellie that like he wanted to be a singer when he grew up, I was convinced that he was going to sing a little song at some point in the game, and he didn't. But speaking of songs, and Joel and Troy Baker, the genius behind the voice, you guys must see, if you have not, the alternate ending scene for The Last of Us, link in the description as well as here, because it will blow your mind and soul, everything in you at the same time. I just died. It's absolutely absolutely exquisite. It just goes to show that the forces behind this game, these people are unstoppable. Everybody deserves Oscars. Everyone deserves all the awards. I will manufacture and deliver them myself to you in a hot air balloon. We'll party. That's all I gotta say. But oh man, there's so much more that I want to say about this game. So many fun moments and glitches and just things that were astonishingly memorable about the game. I'm full of moments, so I'm hoping to actually, you know, do some footage on games in the future. Coming up soon, I got The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 2. So that's coming up on the roster for me. But yeah, there's just so many great moments in playing this game that made it so fun, because it was so emotional for me, but at the same time playing with my siblings, like when going through this sort of dark game, we had a lot of fun moments where there would just be like these sincere, kind of calm discussions going on, and you could just look at anything happening through Joel's gun, or like, I mean, we just had fun with it. We had a lot of fun with it. Just game of the freaking year. It deserves all the everything, all the acclaim it has gotten. It has earned, and then some, in flying colors. So I thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know what you thought about just the freaking game in general. Many badasseries. Truly an astounding story, and it just sets the bar like nobody's business. So I'd love to hear about your favorite moments and experiences with the game, any Easter eggs that you saw. Hit me up, I would love to hear about it. So you guys take care, and I will be breaking down some other games in the future as well. Y'all take care, and I'll be back before you know it.